Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the first and final RazzBowl6 mock draft. We are going to be seeing a whole bunch of experts, and we're going to have some Joes. So this will be a pseudo pros versus Joes. Again, RazzBowl, the 6th year we've been in operation, we've got almost 300 folks in the tournament. And if you hang tight for about 10 seconds, we'll be back to introduce all the competitors. My guy, Derek, how are you, buddy?
This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this.
I'll tell you what, we've put just a little bit of work into this, and I think it is going to be a good time. You're in charge tonight, so you're directing the show. You're going to tell me what I need to do, but I believe we just got information. We have 293 entrants. Our goal is 300, and if we can push past 300, we'll be more than happy to do that. But the best part about becoming an entrant is it's free. You don't have to pay anything. So.
Yeah, we've got a number of good drafters in the backstage, ready to come on and have some fun tonight with our mock draft.
Yep. All right, we're ready to go. All right, what do you want me to do? You want me to run through some rules first?
Yeah, let's just do a quick recap of the rules, the scoring, and the setup for RazzBowl.
All right, so folks, I'm going to make this real quick. If you haven't read it, you've probably heard it. I know people are talking about it at work and around the water cooler. So here's the rules, scoring, and setup. Best ball through week 10. We set your lineups for you. Week 11 and forward, you're going to set your own lineup until you are eliminated, and it'll become real obvious because you simply won't be able to set a lineup again. NFC will lock you out from doing that. Roster, for those of you that are in Scott Fishbowl, this is going to be significantly different, so pay attention. You're going to get 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex, which is anything other than quarterback, and you're going to have 11 folks on your bench. Again, this is not super flex, and this is not tight end premium. This is a full PPR, right, Derek? What other PPR is there? There isn't one. We only play full PPR.
That's right.
And the major scoring is 6 points for passing TD. There is no kicker, and there is no defense. The idea is score as many points as you can score weeks 1 through 10, and then from 11 on, hope for the best and hope for the highest scores possible.
All right.
All righty.
So let's get to our mock. Let's introduce the competitors for tonight.
All right. So, folks, we've got about 3/4 of the folks are actually dialed in where they can come on camera. They can talk. They can answer your questions if you put them there in the comment section. We're going to go through the first pick all the way to the 12th. We randomized 6 times. Why did we do it 6 times, Derek?
Well, it's RazzBowl6.
There you go. Absolutely. Drafting in the 1 spot and then waiting about 6 hours until he drafts his second pick will be Anthony Servino. Anthony is he's an NFL host over at RotoWire, and his handle is @TheRealNFLGuru. I don't know if a lot of people can claim that, but it's his handle. So by all means, he's got it locked in. So Anthony, welcome. He's in the background tonight. He will be drafting, but we will not see him on camera, but I'm sure he can get to your questions if need be. All right, Derek, any idea who's in the 2 hole?
Yeah, that would be me. Not my ideal position, but I'll take it. We'll see how this goes.
All right. So over at RazzBowl, as you can see by his shirt and my shirt as well, right? Derek is my co-host, the producer, and he provides off-season and in-season quarterback content, and he will be a DFS provider or POC for us as well. Derek, anything you're working on that you want to plug real quick?
Well, no, getting ready for the DFS season. Gray and Rudy in particular have been optimizing some of the tools on the RazzBowl page, and I'm going to use those along with some of our free tools to help you with your DFS lineups this year. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And you said free tools. We have a ton of free tools over at RazzBowl. We do have some sneaky stuff behind the paywall, but that's not necessarily why we send you over there. There's a lot of free information at RazzBowl, so jump all over that. And if you're interested in some of the pay stuff, let us know if you have questions. We can share what information is behind there, and then we can help you get signed up if you want to go that far. Number 3 is a gentleman that we've met recently. I will tell you that Robert Goldman is the RazzBowl 3 champion. He has not let Derek or I forget that for the last month and a half.
That's right.
Robert is on the Twitter machine at RH Goldman CPA. He said he's not sure that he loves his handle, but the handle is there. You can't change it now. Robert, good evening to you. What do you want to share about your fantasy football stardom and your knowledge and just your overall greatness as it pertains to RazzBowl?
Well, when it comes to RazzBowl, it's just a matter of staying with it. You've got to, draft a good team and stay with it and follow along with what's going on. That's been my theory regarding life. Just, you get knocked down, you get back up. Just keep going.
That's good advice.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, so when we get into the draft, we'll see Derek and Robert go back to back. We'll see who's sniping who, and maybe get some comments on good pick, bad pick.
And this is the second time that Robert and I have been next to each other in a mock draft. So we'll see if we've learned anything along the way.
Yes, sir. All right, Rob, we're going to kick you off, and then we're going to talk to the rest of the draftees. We'll be back with you in a minute. All right, drafting 4 is an overall nice guy. And I'd say, Dave, under your hat, is that a bald head? Is that something else that we have in common? Oh, yeah, I love it. So he's got a great haircut going. Dave and I met through this fantasy stuff, and he's not necessarily an industry guy, but I will tell you what, a lot of folks that I've connected with on the industry side absolutely laud what Dave brings to the community, his willingness to be a friend, right, and be friendly and to provide advice and to connect people in pros and joes. And I think that goes a long way in this day and age, Dave. And so my hat's off to you. I appreciate what you bring. And tell me a little bit about you. And other than being just kind of a fantasy football stud, what else do you bring to our table tonight?
Well, like I said, this is my 3rd year in the RazzBowl. First time I did okay. Second time I did not nail my draft, which to me is a major plus in this tournament because you don't have a lot of fab. And what you do have doesn't go very far. So if you need help, it's a lot harder to get than in a lot of other tournaments.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Derek and I didn't discuss that. That's on me. As Dave mentioned, fab is not hundreds or thousands of dollars. Fab is $10. You must bid minimum $1. And when you run out of money, there are no $0 bids. So you not only do you have to hit when you bid on somebody, but you better hope that guy hits for your team. Otherwise, you're going to be broke real quick. And by the way, Dave, I believe if I'm correct, at week 10, fab is over.
Yep.
Spend it while you got it, right?
That's right. You can't take it with you.
You can't take it with you. I think that's what Robert told us the last time we talked.
Yeah. Well, that's that CPA voice from Robert coming through, Dave, as well. Yeah.
All right, so everybody that's checked in here and watching along, you can get Dave on the Twitter machine at Cruiser128. I tell you, he's a good follow. He's a good dude, and he'll help your connections and followers. So, Dave, we'll connect with you here in a little bit when it's your time to pick.
Okay.
All right, number 5, Faith Enos. She made sure that I pronounced that right. It looks like Ennis to me, but I wouldn't say Ennis because she said it's Enos. Faith has got some other commitments, so she won't be on camera, but she will be in the draft room. In fact, she's there now. With that being said, she is another wonderful partner and part of the Women of Fantasy Football. She's also over at Dynasty Pros Fantasy Football, and you can find Faith at FF_Leap of Faith. I wish we could get her on here today to chat her a little bit, but she's another one of the folks that I've met over the last few months. It's absolutely fantastic. And held in high regard by folks that I've connected with. So, Faith, welcome. I know you can't say hello necessarily, but welcome. We're glad to have you, and I can't wait to see how upset these guys that are drafting around you are when you take their players each and every round.
Yeah, and she made a comment in the draft chat room that she's going to be sniping all night. So
beware.
For those around her, beware.
Yes, I believe her big thing is not necessarily draft the best team. It's how many people she can end up with at the end that are upset with her because she sniped their players. So she may have a very odd looking draft, but I can tell you in the end, she's going to be up for contention no matter what. And she's going to probably have more fun than us because I think she knows Dave real well. I don't know if she knows Bob or not, but she knows Dave well enough where she's going to be able to probably snipe him at least once or twice. And I can tell you, I'm here for it.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, we move on to number 6. And right now, well, Bob, welcome to the show. I'm glad you could make it.
Hey, fellas.
You look comfortable. What's going on under the hat? Did we get a fresh cut?
Yeah, I heard it was mock draft season, so I wanted to look my best out here. So got a nice haircut. I'm holding the camera right now because not really set up for this, but listen, you gotta I turned on the YouTube and I saw you guys bringing people on. I was like, I gotta jump on, at least say hi. So
yeah. Well, and there's a crowd, right? The crowd wants to see the Gray Albright of RazzBowl NFL. Right now, you want to tell everybody where Gray is, right? While you're holding down the NFL for it.
Where Gray is in general? Gray
He's
is
in Hawaii.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Hawaii. Did you get it? I didn't get an invite.
No, Gray. That's a baseball retreat. So I don't know, man. We got to work our way up. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
I don't know that I have enough time left on this earth to make that type of impact on RazzBall, but I'll try.
No, you're doing great, man. The RazzBall, I'm excited. Let's get this mock going, baby. And by the way, hi, Derek. I missed you, man. I'm glad you're back.
Yes, good to be back.
Ready to chat tomorrow as well, so I'm excited. But ready for this RazzBall, baby. I'm ready to mock it up. So,
Bob, it almost looks like it's paparazzi that's filming you. I
love
that.
Like, no comment. No comment. No comment on why I sniped Matt's guy. No comment.
All right, so here's the good thing. Faith is going to ruin at least half of your night, and I love it. I wouldn't say anything mean to her right now because she is just going to do what she does. So
I heard she's wonderful, and she does not like to take away players from people's cues. So I like that about her. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, very, very sweet lady. I have a feeling she's going to ruin your evening. So more power to her. Bob, we're going to kick you off. Get yourself situated. We'll bring you on a little bit later. Cool?
All right.
All righty. All right. This young man needs little to no introduction with the massive trophy case behind him or bobbleheads. I'm not going to judge either way because I have the same thing, more bobbleheads than trophies. But ladies and gentlemen, at RotoBuzz guy, Mr. Howard Bender. And Howard, I want to say from me to you and from Derek through me to you, thank you for your hospitality in this industry as we are young in fantasy sports type stuff and providing content, and you've been an absolute gem. I appreciate the time and effort and kindness that you've provided us. From there, I really don't care anything about you tonight because I draft right after you. But tell us what you're doing over there as head of content at Fantasy Alarm, also with your SiriusXM fantasy shows. I know you've got a show to get to this evening, but promote and tell us everything that you've got going on.
Well, there's a whole lot going on there. Obviously, the fantasy football draft guide over at Fantasy Alarm, which is a living draft guide. We've been rolling out content now for the past month and a half. I'm just wrapping up my coaching systems article where I break down every NFL coaching scheme and tell you how the players all fit into it for fantasy purposes. So we got that rolling on over there Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, SiriusXM channel 87, Fantasy Sports Radio. Me and the GM Jim Bowden and Andrew Cooper as well. We do that show 5 days a week. And then, actually tonight I'm filling in over at Smart Fantasy and I'm going to be joining Justin Fensterman for a little show tonight. So excited to get this going. Excited to be in RazzBowl. I've been doing it, every year. So it was excited when you were taking over there, Matt. I was pumped up for you. It's a great tournament. It's a lot of fun to do. Just a huge fan, huge supporter. So thank you so much for having me here. Excited to draft.
We're glad to have you. One thing I will tell you is I've been looking at both my email, UPS, FedEx, and my mailbox. I don't have a personal handwritten invite to anything beat Howard Bender. We can talk about that later, but I have been checking snail mail. I've been checking everything, but I'm not one to point any fingers. So
wait, are you in one of them?
No, sir. I've been waiting for the right invitation. I don't want to just jump into anything as if I own the place.
No, jump in like you own the place. You know, that's the whole thing, man. Just walk through the locker room, drop the towel, and say, yo, I'm Matt. I'm here, and I'm ready to win. Go to rtsports.com/Bender and sign up for whatever draft you want to sign up for. Come take me on. I'm right there because I'm right there over in the corner of the locker room right now. I got no towel on. Nothing.
Whew. That's an image that I don't know if we can show that on this there.
Welcome to the 7th pick of the draft, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. No towel Bender. I prefer that to be your name for this league.
Yeah, and speaking of owning, just a quick aside, this is a football show, but I took on your co-host a few years ago in a baseball league, and I beat his ass. So I just want to say that. He won't remember, and he'll probably deny it, but the proof is out there.
Yes, and by the way, me. And Jim won't remember it, but Derek remembers it so much so that he reminds me of it, and I wasn't even in the league. So
That's right.
And Joey Wright just checked in. He said you owe him $6. I trust that that's correct.
6. I thought it was 4. What do you
mean?
There's
6? Interest, right? We're not going to talk politics and inflation and the economy, but it could be 6 at this point.
I don't know. I haven't owed it to him for that long.
Oh, and Faith says you owe her 20. Yikes!
Yeah, well,
this is getting expensive. We better get
collect it, Enos. Come on, come at me.
So there's you don't want to say anything nice to either one of them. I'm all about that. Howard, we're going to kick you to the back real quick, and we will be back with you shortly.
Thank you, guys.
All righty. Drafting right after Howard and right in front of Jim Coventry is yours truly, which will probably be the worst mock draft performance that you see of the evening. Nervous with those two gentlemen on either side. So I will bow out as quickly as possible. I write the off-season and in-season wide receiver content for RazzBowl, and I am the RazzBowl6 commissioner first time this year. So I'm going to say thank you for everything, folks. Let's get to 300 entrants, and let's turn this over to pick number 9, Jim Coventry. Jim, how are you?
Always a great day to talk football, draft football, and live football.
Absolutely. Tell us what you're working on over at RotoWire and with your SiriusXM stuff as well. I know it sounds a little bit like the same intro we gave Howard, but I'm hearing in the industry people like you more than they do Howard. I don't know. I'm just saying what I'm reading.
No, it's similar because, as we know, this industry is nonstop this time of the year. I see Faith, sir. Hey, Faith. So anyway, SiriusXM, I'm on the weekends, 1 to 3 Eastern, Saturdays and Sundays, both days. Sometimes I sub during the week. If you follow me on the X at Jim Coventry NFL, you get a couple stats of the day with some up player takes on those. You also find out when I have extra shows. Big thing. RotoWire's launched a fantasy football only YouTube channel, content every day. We got a full-time video editor, so they can actually make me look decent. That's a hard pull, but he's able to do that, so I'm grateful for that. But if you can subscribe to that fantasy football YouTube channel on RotoWire, that'd be perfect. We'd love it.
So you search RotoWire on YouTube and can probably break it down and figure it out from there?
Yeah, you got to go RotoWire Fantasy Football because we got the main page. We just broke off a football page. So, you get the main page. It's great, but you get all the sports. If you're just a football diehard, you really just want to come over to the football only page. The people that are running that page have really done a nice job of setting it up, though.
Awesome. I'm not going to charge you per person that you get tonight, but we can talk about that at a later time. So hopefully you can double, triple, quadruple all of your viewership on YouTube. So, Jim, again, thanks for being with us. We'll get back to you when we get to that 9th pick. All right, Derek, who do we have coming in at 10? Oh, it's one of the RazzBowlers. Mr. Jefferson, how are you?
What's going on, fellas? I am well. How are y'all doing?
Love the background. Is that an MLB cap, or I don't need to guess? No,
it's a RazzBall.
Oh, he's a company man. Remember the boss is
company man.
The boss is on tonight, so he's going to be a company man.
Yes. What do we got going on at the 10th spot? Right, you're going to draft right after Jim and right before the Fantasy 5, Ryan Weiss. I know you'll be fine. You're not stressed out. You're a professional. What do you have working over at RazzBowl right now besides the Dynasty content that you've been writing all off season that you'll continue to write through the year? What else should we be looking for from you?
Yeah, so still looking at rookies. I know this is the time for a lot of people drafting in dynasties for rookies. So continuing that content, and I'll be on Thursdays and Fridays to answer questions, provide insight. I'm excited to be next to these other professionals, and hopefully I'll beat them in this mock.
All right.
Yep. I'm probably not going to win, even though I might provide grades at the end. So if there's a D floating out there, I'm probably going to get it. So you'll finish above me no matter what, just because I'm a generous host. And again, you see I'm drafted in between Howard and Jim, so I don't have much shot. And then Faith is kind of creeping around after Bob up there. So, all right, Jeff, we're going to throw you to the back, and we will be with you in a little bit. All right, number 11, we are not going to see Ryan from at the Fantasy 5 from Football Guys. He is a little bit under the weather, but he's a trooper. He is going to draft all night with us, and hopefully we'll see some comments from him. But Ryan, welcome to the 11th spot. Welcome to the almost turn, and we will see who you're drafting right in front of or right behind all night. And ladies and gentlemen, if it's not the one, the only, the Joey Wright, drafting at the turn. Like I said, Joey, my apologies. We did randomize this. Maybe you're a turn guy. Maybe you're not. Either way, it's great to have you. I know you're going through some stuff, and our thoughts go out to you. So stay strong. Take care of the kids. I know they're probably running around under your feet. But welcome to the draft, and we look forward to seeing what you do on each turn. Should be very interesting. Derek, I'm out of breath. I've talked too much. Is the show over?
It is not. We got a draft to do. Let's get this thing started.
We do have a draft to do. All right, folks, I am going on to Sleeper. I am clicking the purple button that says Start Draft. We've got 90 seconds, and Anthony, you are on the clock to kick this thing off. Now, okay, so right out of the gate, we have CMC is gone. Not a surprise, right? We're not a super flex league. Derek, you're on the clock, and let's see if we get any surprises early in.
Probably not a surprise. I figured I would take either the top running back on my board or the top receiver, and of course, it's going to be the receiver.
I love that you're at number 2 because you hate that you're at number 2.
Yeah, I do. I do hate it.
And by the way, we won't give anybody secrets, but the guy drafting 3rd is a wide receiver junkie. So anybody that thinks a wide receiver is going to get back to them, it's probably not going to happen if Goldman is drafting.
All right. I'm going to go to the background, and let's bring Dave to the screen. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit.
All right, Dave, what made you go running back there?
Well, I thought about it, and I decided I wanted the guy that had a lot of upside. I definitely considered Chase at that spot, but I like Breece Hall with Aaron Rodgers coming back to that offense. So I think he's probably going to be the second best running back going this year after McCaffrey.
And how far do you put Bijan behind Breece Hall? Is it a significant difference, or do you think
not at all? It's 2A and 2B.
So with that, I'm on the clock. Howard, I'm not going to give you any ammunition. I'm not going to say you sniped me. I'm not going to say you disappointed me. What I'm going to say is I wish I would have invited somebody else because that was the absolute correct pick. And by the way, a fun fact, every draft I have been in this year so far, I've landed in the 8th spot. I don't know why. I selected it once, but every other time I've been in the 8th, and it hasn't been my favorite spot to be. And with that, I take the guy that seems to make sense, but I don't necessarily love it. Jim takes the guy that I was kind of flipping a coin with. So, Jim, I love that pick. In Superflex, you can get him probably half a round later when some of these quarterbacks go off the board. So I love that pick. what do we think of Puka? Are we sold? Is that too early? It is full point PPR.
Well, everybody's grabbing him there. It's where his ADP is at. Look, Sean McVay's a genius. He turned Kyron Williams, Nakua into stars last year. Also, DeMarcus Robinson ended the season. I'll never question Sean McVay again because I think at 31 other teams, Nakua doesn't hit 400 yards. In LA, superstar. Hard to argue.
Yeah. Crazy. I drafted him at the end of each one of my drafts last year. The depth of my analysis was this guy's got great hair and looks pretty cool on film, and it worked out. It worked out really well for me. So, I don't know that I want him that high, but I kind of did him before Garrett Wilson, who Joey took at the turn with Saquon Barkley. So, and look at Ryan double dipping on running backs right at the top. Not good, or excuse me, at the bottom. That's formidable. He probably doesn't have to go back for running back for quite some time. And I'm already back on the clock. Howard, what do you think I should do here?
I think you should take the guy that matches up with your potential draft strategy the most.
Yeah. So I will tell you that this guy is old. I think there might be some concerns that are in the press that are unfounded. I don't think Davante Adams is going anywhere. I love what he does. He catches everything thrown his way. He's a red zone freak, and he just doesn't seem to get much older. Mm-hmm. And I have a very big soft spot for my Green Bay Packers, even though he plays for the Las Vegas Raiders now. So give me some fun in my life and let me take Davante Adams right here.
That works. That definitely works. If you didn't take him, I was going to. So I'll turn around here because, one of the things, I'm doing a ton of drafts right now. I'm doing best ball drafts. I'm doing season-long drafts. I'm doing slow drafts. I'm doing, contained drafts. So I am absolutely loaded up. So one of the things that I wanted to, take advantage with here in doing this mock is to start taking guys that I don't normally take at this spot. Like before, I would have taken Bijan Robinson, no question about it. I didn't even want Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't normally do it, but I need to be able to see other ways to build my teams and see what makes me happy. So I know which players I like, but I'll, turn around here and see where their ADP falls like in the later rounds. And I'll keep taking guys who I believe in, who I trust, but maybe I don't normally take them, whether it's at that spot or not. And so I will just go with Chris Olave here and take a pair of wide receivers when I'm typically a running back guy.
Yep. And I will tell you, so for me, when I said there might be a player that's younger and possibly better, same class as Davante Adams, I mean class as in wide receiver skill sets, it was Olave for me. But I did the same thing. I don't have Davante anywhere this year. I'm glad to take him where I did, and I would have done your start. I would have been just as happy with your start as I am mine. So I think we're both happy, and that's a good thing. High five virtually. So we're happy. The cruiser. So we've got two teams have gone double running back, and Howard, you said you're a double running back usually, or running back early. I'm usually wide receiver. It's just what Robert did. So right now, let's bring Derek on. We can probably cut somebody out here. You can even cut me out if you want, Derek, and let's get your thought process on this.
All right. Yeah. So I'm interesting here. I like, me, I like to go wide receiver as well, but I don't necessarily love the board right now. So I am going to take who I feel is the best running back available with upside. And that's going to be H.A.N.
You feel that's a home run? Like that's either you're going to win your league or you lose your league on that pick? Is it a little bit scary?
Well, yeah, I would prefer him in the third round maybe, but he has first round upside, if it falls the right way. So I'll take him at the end of the second. I'm happy with that.
All right. Now with Anthony's pick, over under on Derrick Henry touchdowns is 95. Where do you jump in there?
I'm pretty close, but I'll take the under.
Yeah, I'm going the under too. I'm around 93, 92 touchdowns. Oh, and the first, my goodness, not tight end premium, but
yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
So let's see if this starts a run. You want to throw Jefferson in here and see what he's thinking with
let's bring Robert in and see how he likes his first 3 picks.
All right, champ.
I'm thrilled. I'm just going behind my board and just picking out players. I like to start 3 wide receivers, but especially with the first 10 weeks being best ball.
And Faith is an animal. She's afraid of nobody. She does what she's going to do. She's got 1,700 targets on the board already. That's crazy. All right, Derek, where do we think Bob's going to go? Is he going to get scared and go tight end? He's going to go Josh Allen? What's Bob going to do here?
No, I he likes Josh Jacobs. I think he's going to go another running back here.
Yeah, he does. Sky, our other Colin.
All right,
I will tell you what. If you bring Bob on right now, he will tell you that I would have taken Cooper Kupp before it got back to him. He knew that.
Hey, Matt.
Hi, Bob. You knew that, right?
Yeah, no, it's fun. I get kind of the feedback a little bit. You started talking tight ends, and I got nervous. And I'm like, I can't do what they say I'm going to do. So I just panicked and took Cooper Kupp, who I absolutely love this year. But, yeah, actually, I was really hoping Pacheco would fall. I was, praying that he can maybe make it back. But it is what it is. Obviously, there's still good value, especially with these veterans like Cooper Kupp. So I pulled the trigger there. I know we just talked about some wide receivers and we both loved Kupp, so I figured there would be no shot he makes it in the 4th round.
No, he was not going to make it back to you. My gut says somebody else would have taken him, but alas, he is gone. Now I look at the board here and I'm a little bit leery about the next pick only because of the 2 gentlemen after me both have wide receiver. I've got a clear running back that I think is top of the chart right now, but I have him in many leagues that I'm drafting in right now. So I am going to go away from him right now, and I'm going to take a name that some people think, no, I'm not. I'm not going to be dumb. Here we go. And I'm going to stop talking.
Josh Jacobs.
And Nico Collins was the other name. So, Jim, you and I are on the same page as well. I'm a little bit fearful of Nico, right? And a lot of people are – there's kind of this up and down on Nico. Is he going to – are there too many mouths to feed, right? We'll get into the Dalton Schultz talk probably a little bit later. But I think that if I could short my 2 running backs with Bijan and Josh Jacobs, who should be high volume if he stays healthy. But why Nico over Diggs maybe?
Yeah, Nico Collins is a perfect fit for Bobby Slowick's offense. One of the main premises of that offense are the in-breakers, not just underneath, but going over the top using verticality as well. And so that said, he will be the clear alpha in the offense. Tank Dell is certainly going to have a solid role. Diggs is going to have, but it's going to be Collins is where the offense kind of melds around. The other, we'll see Dell win a lot of some downfield routes, but he doesn't run those classic Slowick routes. And Stephon Diggs, I think that role is going to be less snaps than we think. I think the player is on the field full time as Collins, and the efficiency that they're going to get in that offense. They're going to run some 21 personnel too, like they did last year, Andrew Beck, the fullback. And we've seen there are 4 or 5 teams in the NFL that run that 21 personnel. And the thing you'll notice about them, they're all at the top of the league in average depth of target. And that's because they draw defenses into play with heavy boxes. Again, Collins fits that perfectly.
Yep, I agree. So where did you have Jacobs in your to-do list around there?
Let me pick here real quick.
Yep.
All right, good. Okay. So Josh Jacobs, the whole thing with him is he had the career year, the year when the Raiders declined his 5th-year option. And in my mind, I think he trained like no man trained before. The 3 years that surround that, he's barely 4 yards per carry. His broken tackle rate and his yards after contact were way below average last year, below Zamir White even. I believe Josh Jacobs is going to have to get a ton of volume. I don't think at this point, I don't think he's a very good running back. He can catch a little bit. He can run a little bit, but the Packers have always rotated backs. When Aaron Jones was there, they would play lesser backs. They spent an 88 overall pick on Marshawn Lloyd. AJ Dillon's gotten worse and worse every year, yet he's still played. So Josh Jacobs is a player I'm completely out on.
Well, that feels good.
Sorry.
No, and I get you, and that's why I was nervous, right? I was that when I went back and forth, it was Nico or Josh Jacobs for me. Jeff, why quarterback? Howard, why quarterback also when Jeff's done?
I mean, listen, for me, this it's kind of funny. If I was gonna, I'm testing the waters here and pushing it on running back. It's this is actually a sweet spot in the draft for me for running backs in this fourth round. Both Mixon and Kamara. I'm a big fan of both of them. I think they're both in really strong situations. And that's kind of where I live in this round. So in order to buck that trend, which direction do I go? I've already got 3 wide receivers. Normal Howard Bender would be scooping up Dalton Kincaid right now. So let me get the next best thing about that Buffalo offense, and I'll take Josh Allen. I never take one of these high-end QBs, maybe in a best ball if I'm going to, pair up like Mahomes and Kelsey and do like a little a Chief stack or something. But I'm never the first guy to take a QB off the board. And so, again, building a team right now that I like, that I'm just trying to see, what it's going to look like as far as like the rest of my squad if I just deviate from what I normally do.
Yeah, and again, it's the same thing for me. I like Diggs for PPR. I don't love Diggs otherwise. But my pick, right, the flip of the coin for me was Josh Allen. So I'm interested to hear how you arrived at that. I was about ready to click the same thing, but I'm trying to do what others are trying to do. I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, do something different. Diggs was going in Scott Fishbowl in rounds 6 and 7 that I saw because people are down on him right now. He's kind of got that wide receiver diva attitude. And there's a lot of mouths to feed. And like Jim said, you're over the top and your crossing is going to be Nico Collins, who should be the one all year by a long shot. Yeah, but I would prefer – go ahead.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't mind Diggs because, the guy who's going to suffer the most, because if you look at the personnel packages that Bobby Slowick likes to run, right, it's a lot of 2 tight end sets. He uses a fullback constantly. That's why Andrew Beck is there.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons why I love Mixon over there in Houston, because he's finally got a fullback to run behind, which is going to be delicious. But, when Slowick runs these sets, it's two wide receivers. It's Nico Collins and it's Stephon Diggs. They traded for Diggs. They paid Collins. The guy who's going to suffer snap-wise, that's going to be Tank Dell, believe it or not. Like, we get that Dell is like an explosive guy and, can be a great home run threat, but Diggs, it's going to be Diggs. You did not trade for Stephon Diggs. You did not bring in Stephon Diggs to let him be the wide receiver 3. And that, and they turned to Nico and they were like, dude, we just want you to know you are still very much in our plans. Like, here's an extension and here's a lot of money because we know we want to, keep you around here. So those are the 2 guys who are going to get the work. So I like the Diggs pick. I think it's a good spot. He's your wide receiver 2. So I'm okay with that.
All right, Jeff, I think you might have been on mute. What did you have to say about your with Mahomes going as your 4th overall pick?
Yeah, probably a little higher than normal, but I got burned last year with Trevor Lawrence. So I think Patty finally has a wide range of receivers that he hasn't had in quite some time. I think we may see Pat Mahomes from 3 or 4 years ago and those numbers that he put up.
I'll take it. I mean, he's won the Super Bowl 7 out of the last 7 years, I believe, if I've got my numbers right. But I just kind of look at his numbers, and I don't know what it is about it. It seems boring. He just kind of seems to do the same thing a lot. I really like his 2 receivers. I love Pacheco. His tight end's a little bit older, but I think that he's still Patty Mahomes, like you said. And I know, right, down deep, you're this guy, right?
That's right, rep him.
Yeah, rep. So Jeff is our resident Texas Tech guy. All right, so my draft has gone nothing like I wanted it to go, and that's good. I wanted to be uncomfortable, and I won't say T. Higgins was my next pick because I hadn't even looked at the board yet. But if we're gonna have some fun, it would have been Kyle Pitts, but with Bijan, I think I'm going to stay away from too many folks in Atlanta. Oh, I don't really like anybody that's here, but I think that this guy is steady. He gets targets, and let's hope that Trevor Lawrence turns it around from what he did last year. Lord knows he's got a big fat wallet now. What is it, $250 million? I think that he just signed for. So, what do we think, Derek? You drafted a while ago, and you took a guy I passed on, Malik Neighbors, because I don't think he has a quarterback. He has 3 of them, and if you have 3 quarterbacks, you don't have one. So, what was the thought in Malik Neighbors?
Yeah, for me, I'm looking for guys there with upside. He's a pretty heralded rookie coming in there. You're right, there are a lot of hands in that wide receiver room, but I'm actually a little bit higher on Danny Dimes this year than probably many. So I see a turnaround there, and I don't mind taking a chance on someone like Neighbors in the late 4th round, because I know with Lamb and even Keenan Allen behind him, I've got a lot of receptions and should have a lot of touchdowns there. So even if he ends up being my 3rd wide receiver, in his rookie season, I think my wide receiver room there is pretty good.
Yep, I'm going to pass on both of those players that you just took at your turn. Neighbors, again, I don't see him on the quarterback.
That's good.
I hate the Bears, right, Jim? I think we're in agreement. Keenan Allen, he's running on hamstrings made of spaghetti at this point. He still puts up numbers every single year, but there's a lot of mouths to feed in Chicago, and I'm not sure I'm sold on Caleb Williams until I really see it.
So I'm going to bring in Robert to talk about his team. He's got a pretty balanced team so far. Let's see what our champ has to say.
Yeah, so basically I saw that there was a cliff coming in as far as I was concerned with the running backs. So that's why I grabbed Cook there, and particularly trying to – Lamar Jackson I look at as the top 4, and then to me from 5 to 10 they're equal, and then after that 10 to 20 they're equal. So I want to get the end of any tier. So that's basically the way I draft is look at the tiers and try and grab the players as they're at the end of the tier.
Yeah. So for a league like this, Robert, where it's fairly standard, we don't have the super flags. We don't have some of the scoring like we saw with the Scott Fish Bowl. Do you tend to draft more balanced like this, or is it really just what the draft board gives you?
I tend to draft more balanced because this is a group that's going to have to carry you. As Dave was saying earlier, there's not a lot on the waiver wire. So you're really having to, draft a team that can carry you most of the way. You got 20 rounds and you're starting 9 because you got the 2 flexes.
Derek just loading up on Bears, which is testing our friendship, but that's okay. And Howard, I know you've got to cut bait here in a little bit, right? You think you can get through maybe a couple more picks with us?
I'm gonna have to connect. I got another minute or 2 here that we can kind of go through it, but I'll be drafting with you guys the whole rest of the way. I just got to do that broadcast over there, and that's all. That's all.
Hate it when work gets in the way.
Right? It's.
Well, if it helps you sleep any better, Amon-Ra was my pick. I would take Devontae over Olave. I wanted Waddle over Jacobs. I went Diggs, but my next pick was Allen. I wanted Higgins, but I took Kirk. And I didn't like Kenneth Walker, but I wanted to change up my plan. Kittle was the next guy. So everything that you've done, I put my thumbs up behind, not just because I want your approval and I miss the times that we talk about how much we love each other's roster. I think you have gone in with a theory that I can get behind. Josh Allen, maybe in this format, was a little early for me, but I understand why you did that. And I think that like maybe Zay Flowers there for you would have been a little bit better. And possibly you come back with Allen or Lamar Jackson there and with a stack with maybe Lamar and Zay. But again, 6 points passing touchdown. So Josh Allen, you can't really discount too much. So I kind of dig where you're headed, and I like it. Jim, you want to go ahead and critique his lineup? Feel better about your night a little bit?
Am I talking about Howard?
Jim, go ahead.
No, I love the receiver heavy, and if I don't go hero running back, I go receiver heavy like Howard did. And the only thing I was going to ask you, Howard, because I have like a coin flip on right now on London and Olave. I took London, you took Olave. Do you see them vastly apart, or are they a coin flip for you as well?
No, I think they're pretty close here. I'm going to take my first running back here just so that everybody can see that. There you go, Jonathan Brooks. I look at I'm sorry, the two of them, Drake London. See, for me, what it is with Atlanta, it's contained targets. You got Drake London, you got Bijan Robinson, you got Kyle Pitts. What, Darnell Mooney? No. I mean, it's just there's not really a whole lot there. So this offense is basically going to run through three weapons for Kirk Cousins. So I love the fact that, I know Drake London's the number one guy there. I know the offensive scheme that they run, that Zach Robinson is looking to do. I know exactly, where they're at. So London is fantastic for me. I like Olave because he fits this offense well. Like a lot of people, you have to think about it. It's Clint Kubiak running the show here now. Yep. So the offensive scheme that he's put in there is not like anything that we've seen with the Saints for some time now. So it's, I'm definitely into like Alvin Kamara and Kendry Miller because they are going to be run heavy. And when you put a Kubiak, I don't care if it's Gary or Clint, but you pair him up with Rick Dennison, and that's a running game that I want to get behind because of the blocking scheme that these guys have created over the years. You think about all of that. So that's only going to help Chris Olave, right? I think Chris Olave is going to be, a great situational guy because he can do the underneath stuff. He can do the crossing routes. He'll do everything, right? Shaheed, I like, but he's kind of a deep threat sort of a situation. A.T. Perry, just needs a little bit more seasoning. I think Juwan Johnson's not bad there, but Olave, Drake London, I love them both. I have London ranked higher than Olave, but I mean, can you go wrong with either? I don't think so.
No, and real quick on Olave, last year he ran one of the highest level of go routes, and that's not exactly who he is. But like you said, Kubiak, we've seen it since his dad. You run the play action, you run the quick slant, and Olave is going to crush. The targets are going to be there. So there's a good answer to your question because I have them both equal, and if I have a chance to draft them both in different drafts, I'll take some London and some Olave. I just want to hear where you went with that.
Yeah.
So curious to me. On the turn, we're at 7 and 11, or 7 and 8. Already with Jalen Hurts in a one quarterback league, Ryan selected Jordan Love. Now that is a punch to the gut for me because I saw everybody in front of me has quarterback. I don't need to grab one. So let me take the upside with Bowers, knowing that Jordan Love's going to make it back to me. So I'd like to see if we can get Ryan to chime in the chat. But anybody have a gut feeling as to why he would go quarterback so quickly after having Hurts in the fourth?
Well, in a best ball league, it's best ball for a number of weeks. So there's that. But it's almost like in that scenario, I don't know, there's a slight small fab, you said, so you can't get a lot of players. So it's early. It's early to take another quarterback, like you said, when you draft Hurts. But it must have been something along that lines. But like you said, if you're going to draft one of those top-end quarterbacks, then you're probably waiting until deep to get your second. So, yeah, that's an interesting call.
Sorry, guys. I got to jump. I love you all very much. Thank you so much for having me here. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to RazzBowl and looking forward to crushing this mock. I'm actually really liking my team right now. So,
all right, Howard, thanks for coming on. Good luck with the show tonight. Kill it.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Right about it. Robert, any thoughts other than what Jim said, why he might have gone a second quarterback down there at the
Well, I got to tell you, the year I won, I drafted Kyler Murray in the 5th, and I think I grabbed Tom Brady in the 10th. And between the two of them, the first 10 weeks, I had significant lead going into the playoffs, and that really helped in this league. It happened to be that also Kyler Murray got hurt then, and so I rode Tom Brady to the end.
Yeah, the year you won it, I had Tom Brady I had him selected quite late. And then I also had Matthew Stafford, and I had a third quarterback. I did the same thing. They just happened to come a little bit later. There it is. Flex in the chat. I saw it. But you're right. With best ball, you can, if you load up on those quarterbacks and they do what they're supposed to do every other week, then you're in a really good position to score a lot of points, and that's what you need to do. You have to load up on points as early as possible.
Right. So now I'm going to do something I really don't like.
Oh,
Which means we really like it.
2 Tennessee receivers.
Oh, so you'll get Will Levis in the next round. Is that correct?
No. I don't think I need to get Will Levis in the next round.
No, I think you can wait. And why are you fearful? 2 from the same team or 2 from Tennessee?
2 from the same team, of your top 5, because both of those are my flex. If you look at it from that perspective, because you're starting
Did you
2
look
flexes
at their bye week? Let me see what their bye week is.
Bye week, they're early, 5.
They're 5, so you're good, right? You don't need to worry about them,
right?
Once they're through their bye week, they're just going to be scoring points. Weeks 6 through 10, it's just free points for you.
Correct.
Well, Derek, look at Derek. Look at Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota. It's almost as if we've never talked.
Who are you? Yeah.
Well, all NFC North, huh?
I guess.
Well, Jordan, Addison's a big talent, and there is some question on who's going to be throwing him the ball, and of course, we got a healthy Jefferson on the other side, but I mean, there's going to be enough to go around there in Minnesota, and so I'll take a shot at him as my 4th wide receiver with upside. I was thinking about Sutton, though. I like that pick by Anthony because he's such a possession receiver. He doesn't have a high ceiling, but he has a really good floor. In the best ball, you want those guaranteed points, and someone like Sutton really provides that. So I do like that pick by Anthony at the turn.
Well, and that's a terrible football team last year, and he had 10 of the quietest touchdowns you'll ever see, right? I mean, that was a train wreck in Denver, and he still had, I think, 10 touchdowns last year.
It was what we were looking for 2 years ago from Russell Wilson and Sutton, because one thing Wilson can do is throw downfield. That didn't work in year 1, but in year 2, it worked out perfectly, and that was what those 2 could connect. And even in the red zone, they were like some verticals from the 15 or so, but they still were verticals. But that said, of the other years, prior 3 years, Sutton has like 2 and 3 touchdowns. He's always between 770 and 820 in the yardage. So like you said, he's a good floor play. He'll get you that 770 to 820. And there's something to be said in like the 8th round, 9th round. That's a good value to have that kind of floor.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's quiet, right? He's another one of those guys. Well, look where you got him. I mean, you got him at the beginning of the 9th round. That tells me that he's probably undervalued as a wide receiver 1. Who do we think is going to be the starting quarterback there in Denver? You think they're just going to throw Bo Nix in from week 1 with his buddy Troy Franklin and Sutton and tell him to wish for the best, or do we think that they're going to go a different route?
They're kind of forced to go that way. They can't go Jared Stidham. They kind of know what they've got there already. Maybe it's a 1 or 2 week thing with Nix. If they feel in camp that he's just not reading certain assignments, they might give him a week or 2 to watch on the sideline. I think it's a small chance that happens, but I think they kind of have to put him in. This is not a team competing for anything. They had that run on defense where they were real turnover heavy and they looked better than they were. They have to start him soon, right?
Yeah, I think that they've put the draft capital into it, and a lot of folks in the NFL, draft capital spells playtime right off the bat, right? I'm not a person that's sold on Caleb Williams, but guess what? Caleb Williams is getting the keys on week 1. regardless of what Matt thinks of him. And maybe he kills. Who knows? I know Derek is all about it, which, again, smells a little bit like bad milk to me, but we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. And so look at Howard is. He was on the clock, and he's got, I think, Bob, if we can get Bob on, Derek. Oh,
Yeah,
no,
let's
did
bring
you check
Bob
out?
on.
I think Bob said that Tyler Lockett has been on 5 of his championship teams. Is that right, Bob? Is that the quote? You're on mute, buddy.
Jeez. No, honestly, I don't even know where that came from. That's interesting. Is this just random rumors you guys like to start for podcast purposes, or what?
Well, I have been talking to a lot of people about this league running up, so you never know. It could have been somebody else.
I will say this. I am concerned. So the move to Ryan Grubb is like one of the biggest offseason question marks for me. I'm not like a huge college football guy, and I'll be the first one to say that. So this guy is coming in from Washington. And, even if you look into his history at Fresno State, like he wasn't like this crazy pass happy guy until he gets to Washington. And all of a sudden he's like leading the NCAA in passing yards. Then, Penix is leading in passing attempts last year in college football. And so you're like, all right, maybe this Shane Waldron offense last year that was kind of average when it came to pass volume will skyrocket. But the question is that actually going to be the case? Are they going to be all in on 3 receiver sets? Because JSN last year really wasn't great for fantasy because the Seahawks did use a lot of different personnel. So is the question for me is like, if let's say JSN takes the next step, what's the real upside with Lockett? Is Geno Smith going to support, 3 top 36 wide receivers? I have a hard time feeling that's the case. So I think the logical thing is maybe Lockett takes a step back, wide receiver 4 range, but we'll see in training camp. Is JSN even in 2 receiver sets? He should be, but I'm not sure. That's why I haven't really got a lot of Lockett this year.
Lockett had a 16th percentile yard after the catch last year. He had 122 targets. He had one of the lowest yardage totals we've seen from him in 6 or 7 years. It was clear decline, but volume ramped him up a little bit. Like you're saying, JSN, when the coach left town, Shane Waldron, somebody interviewed him and they asked about Shane Waldron. He goes, "Are we live?" And they said, "Yes." He goes, "He's a great guy." Basically, he was pissed because he so horribly misused him. And but that's unlikely to happen here. Like I said, Grubb's coming in, no longer that Pete Carroll allegiance to the older dudes. But yeah, the explosiveness difference between those 2 players is night and day. So I think you're onto something there, Bobby, with them saying Lockett maybe kind of trending down a little bit.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is too, like when I was looking into all the stuff with like ADOT and stuff, like the way they used JSN last year was embarrassing. Like his average depth of target, it was like 93rd of 120 qualified receivers last year in ADOT. Yeah. It's like, really? Like this guy that's how you're going to use him? It's absurd. So I'm all in on JSN. I just have a hard time like Lockett's not going to go away completely. And you can argue he's probably one of the top 3, number 3 receivers in football. Like there's not a lot of teams that have a really good third receiver that is going to demand some targets. So that does impact the upside for guys like Metcalf and JSN because Lockett is good. He's still going to be good. He's still going to get some targets. He's going to get a lot more than most wide receiver 3. So I do get a little concerned there because it's still Geno Smith. I want to be as optimistic as I can be on Geno, but like it's still Geno. I mean, it's not like it's going to be Pat Mahomes slinging 5,000 yards. So I am cautiously optimistic on JSN and DK Metcalf.
Jeff, who drafted Pat Mahomes since Bobby name dropped?
This guy right here.
Yeah, that guy. That guy's got 2 thumbs and drafted Patrick Mahomes.
So for the general question for the group, like how does everyone feel about the quarterbacks? Is it really the top 4? Is it Hurts, Mahomes, Allen, Jackson? And is it really kind of locked into the number 1 still, or does anybody have a different idea about who's the real number 1 in a single QB league?
So Robert kind of touched on this earlier, and I'd like to get Cruiser's thought when we come back past him in the 11th. Robert made the exact point that I have found in being successful in RazzBowl. You don't need Hurts, you don't need Allen, you don't need Lamar, you don't need Mahomes. What you need 3 stud quarterbacks. You need 3 stud tight ends The rest you fill in where it makes sense. But the reason I asked the question earlier about, hey, why do we think that Ryan went so soon is I wanted to see, was that going to spur anybody else to make their next quarterback pick? Jim did, and I flipped a coin between Purdy and Shakir. I would have gone Kyler Murray and Purdy back-to-back, and then Tua being left there, especially after Caleb Williams went, Jared Goff went, Tua made sense. I truly think the names don't necessarily matter. The depth and the offense matters, and you've got to have three massive quarterbacks in this format.
Well, all this talk about quarterbacks, I better take my first one before Anthony does.
And that was his guy, dude. Bobby, I think you got him because Anthony is in on Kirk Cousins. I would do shows with him all the time.
He's got so many weapons. Okay, he's coming back from injury. It's a new offense, but he's got so many weapons there, and he's shown over the years that he can distribute the ball. So I'm really not all that concerned about Cousins, and especially.
Did you notice at that pick that Anthony had no quarterbacks?
Yes, I did. I've been watching that. Yes, that's draft strategy 101, right?
Yeah.
He likes Rodgers too. He gets but that's I love Cousins.
So, Derek, pull me off of the stream here real quick. Or actually, Dave's on there. Dave, when you're leading up to your pick here, make it whenever you make it. But what was your thought in waiting on quarterback that long, and why was it Daniels when it got to you in the 8th?
Well, when I'm looking at quarterbacks this year, I definitely want a guy that can run the ball. Once a lot of these guys started going off, I really wanted Richardson, and I had this idiot idea that Allen may slip to me in the 3rd or 4th, wherever he went. Once some of the other guys went, I didn't really care. I was willing to wait a little bit. When it came down to my pick in the I can't tell what round it was, the 6th. The 8th.
8th, and
you took Murray a few picks before me. He was the other guy I was looking at that spot. But as far as I'm concerned, guys like Prescott and Stroud, I think those guys are ceiling picks, right? I think those guys probably – Stroud's got room for growth, of course. But for me, Dak, I think, had about as good a year as he's going to have last year. I was willing to take a shot on Love or Kyler, but I really wanted to fill out my receiver room. And I love guys like Jaden Reed and Hollywood Brown that are in good offenses and I think have upside. So I was willing.
You got about 25 seconds for your pick, Dave.
Okay. Hang on.
And I kind of want to just talk about Stroud. Like, I think a lot of us forget, like, not only was he a rookie last year and he was so good, but like he didn't have Tank Dell and Nico Collins on the field together that much, and to think like how good he was when he had those two guys on the field versus throughout the whole season. Now you add Stephon Diggs to the mix, and he gets to keep Bobby Slowick. It's like he could be another threat for a 5,000-yard season if Slowick lets them air it out enough. But like just adding Diggs to those two guys, he could be special this year. And that's why I almost don't feel the urge to draft quarterbacks too early, because guys like Stroud, Jordan Love, Anthony Richardson, you can get 2 rounds later, all have QB1 upside this year. And that's why I'm excited for the QB position. It's really deep.
It's going to be interesting with Stroud, because if they do decide to go that route and let him throw all day, that would be one thing. But the history of that offense is that it's the Shanahan tree. It's the 21 personnel. It's you set heavier, like 21 personnel, because you want the box to come in so you can throw deep. If that offense goes 3 receiver sets, all of a sudden teams are playing the too high shell, and it completely changes the fundamental principles. So you're right, they bring in Diggs, but they also brought in Mixon. And I know Mixon's not a superstar, but it was almost like a purposeful move, because last year they were running the ball on early downs, but they were not getting success with Singletary and Dameon Pierce. Singletary would get the occasional big run, but a lot of zeros and ones. So it's going to be, I like what you say. If they do go that route of 11, then it would work. But if they stick with the true form of that offense, they're going to run a lot.
Yeah, the other thing I like to point out too, it's like when did Kyle Shanahan have like a really good quarterback? Like Matt Ryan, like MVP Matt Ryan season might have been like the one time you can look at where he had a really good Pro Bowl. I mean, Brock Purdy's awesome. I'm not saying he's not, but he's a young kid. He was like a rookie. Then he hurt his elbow. Then he was dealing with the Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Nick Mullins more than the next guy. You know, I'm a big Nick Mullins fan. But, like, it seems like he's been propping up quarterbacks all the way back to Matt Schaub. And so I would be interested to see what this offense could do with, like, elite quarterback. Matt Ryan's probably the example, right? That MVP season he had. So.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think Shanahan likes a guy that'll follow his instructions. I think Brock Purdy is perfect at that. He just buys into the program and he does the best he can in that system. He may be a system quarterback, but you know, I think a coach would love a guy like that.
But it's a
he
good
also averaged
question.
like 14 yards of completion or something last year. So Brock Purdy, man, whatever he's doing is working. It's amazing to watch.
But that was the point I was making. Because of having Kyle Juszczyk on the field, defenses have to play it up. And so I agree with both sides, because they could say, with Stroud, say, what the hell? We got a superstar quarterback. Let's air it out. But they're not going to any longer get those free downfield shots. So it's a chicken and egg, and nobody has the right answer right now. We both have good answers. All three of us have good answers. It's going to be what will Slowick decide to do, and that's ultimately going to shape some fantasy leagues.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, the 49ers aren't a volume passing team. You know, so
right.
I mean, there's only so much of a quarterback you need in that system.
Oh, dude, Matt, you are the.
How do you like that, Bob? Stick it to the man. Stick it to the ball.
God. I thought it was so cool. I had one guy in my queue. I was like, "Hey, he's fine."
Everybody duck. There's a sniper. Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, good stuff.
I got cocky. All
Hey,
right.
Xavier Legette's still there, Bob.
Yes, he is.
Jesus. All right.
Pew, pew, pew.
I thought we're
Hey, that's
all
not
having a
gonna
good
slow down my,
time. We're talking about football. We're talking about
I just keep
coaches
talking
and
to Jim
quarterbacks.
anytime my pick's coming up.
Yeah.
By the way, is that going to slow down my July paycheck? I mean,
Yeah, you're definitely not getting it. I'll tell you that much.
We get paid. Oh, what?
What? No, never mind. Notice also, Derek, feel free to pull me out of here and pull Robert in about all of the tight ends. Look at all the orange in the bottom of that board recently.
Yeah, let's bring Robert in. Well, we can get everybody in here. How about
Look at
that? One big happy family.
Bobby, you just sniped me.
Snipe people. You know what I mean? So
I hear you. So basically, what Matt was talking about earlier. So a lot of times in this league, because of it being the best ball first 10 weeks, I've seen, and I've actually done it, where I had 4 tight ends because you don't know who's going to score for you, right? And then toward the back half of the season, all right, particularly when you're starting to set lineups, you need those tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
And you want the Jonnu Smith 98-yard touchdown, because all you need is one of those during the year, and you win the week, right? Or you stay alive because your week 10 guy goes bananas, and you spent 0 draft capital on him. I mean, can you imagine? I don't know that I knew who Jonnu Smith was, but with Arthur Smith calling plays, I didn't really want anything to do with the passing attack for Atlanta. And I bet you that catch won people their weeks. I don't remember what week it was. I'd have to go back and look. But, I mean, he's probably still running. He ran so far for that touchdown. But again, do you want Mike Gesicki late? You never know, right? Is Gesicki going to go crazy? Do you want Hunter Henry a little bit earlier with Drake May? It's all, I think, with tight ends and health, the fact that they go over the middle, right? Like Hawkinson, he's a really good late round, late season pick. But if you don't make it to week 11, TJ Hawkinson is a wasted draft pick. You've got to have somebody insulate a player like that. And if you look at Ryan, he does. He has Evan Ingram, and then he's got Hawkinson. So he's banking on Ingram and his 44 targets last year to get him to week 11, and then maybe Hawkinson comes through. I think he's out minimum. Their bye is week 5, so he's going to probably be out minimum 5 weeks, and the first time he would play would be week 6. I don't even think
he won't be close to that. The fastest possible recovery is 9 months. His surgery wasn't until January 26th. His surgery was a full month after the injury. So week 9, if it's a perfect recovery. And here's the other problem. He will have had 0 reps with McCarthy or Darnold. And through 8 or 9 weeks, they will have already leaned on Jefferson and Addison. In my mind, and it's my opinion, and I could be wrong, there is no way with no chemistry that Hawkinson is getting anywhere near the looks he got, because those quarterbacks are already going to be like, all right, we got JJ, we got Addison. Maybe everybody else is right and I'm wrong. I just don't see with no reps with those guys that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with Jim with Hawkinson. He got too hurt. And, like Jim said, the surgery didn't happen until the end of January. It does. You don't just walk on the field and, hit your 100%. It's going to take, if he gets anywhere near normal, it's probably going to be too late for us.
Yeah, I agree. I will tell you that I have a soft tissue issue in the back of my foot by the Achilles, and I've been down 4 weeks and I don't do anything. So how these pro athletes have the extent of an injury like Hawkinson had and expect to be playing within 9, 10, 11 months is beyond me. But, they're freaks of nature. They are absolutely built different. But I can tell you that me looking around the house doesn't make me feel any better about TJ Hawkinson getting on the field.
Adrian Peterson was probably the worst thing that ever happened, because he reset the expectation, right? Yeah. He came back and all of a sudden he's like this, he's prime Adrian Peterson. And that just is so rare.
Yeah,
I'd like to go back and see where he was drafted the year after that injury and look at the value that people got out of that draft.
Oh, I still drafted him pretty early. I drafted him in like the 3rd round, but he didn't hurt himself at the end of the season. He hurt himself early.
I remember Gene Bramble, the doctor from Football Guys, and he was talking about Peterson and saying, look, I don't believe in the Easter Bunny. I don't believe in Santa Claus. There's no way Peterson's coming back. And Dave, you were right. Nobody came close to that timeline yet being what he was. And you're right. That was going forward. We always have this thing in our mind now about getting the next Adrian Peterson.
He'll be fine in 8 months. Going, get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but Derek took another Bear player. So I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to hijack my second ever podcast and pretty much ruin my evening. So
yeah,
Bob,
I was wondering if you're going to see that.
Take over. This is ridiculous. It's ludicrous what he's doing. He's just I don't know. It's really a bad friend at this point is what he's doing.
I was wondering if you're going to see that.
I see everything, Derek. Bob, tell him I see everything.
So anyway, so sibling rivalries, the RazzBowl kids, you can't let them out together too much. They always get on each other's case. But no, I was just talking a little bit about, like, I guess we're getting to the point now where this is like later in the draft. And I know we don't want to necessarily like talk about the guys but maybe guys that have gone off the board. When you get to this point, is there like a late round sleeper that everybody's been targeting a lot that maybe he's on or off the board right now? I know we don't probably want to say it, but if maybe a guy who's been picked that guys really like.
Yeah, Jefferson just took him.
Thank you.
Marshawn Lloyd
and I think Tyrone Tracy, who went at 13-12, are both fantastic running back selections later in a draft.
Yeah, and I like Kamani Vidal as well. I think there's some opportunity there. I mean, Gus Edwards hasn't been the mark of good health, and so there's an opportunity there. And at this point of the draft, you want maybe some upside, or of course let the best ball 10 weeks work itself out and establish a lineup, and that's a player I think that might have some late season upside when we're setting lineups. So that would be a name that I was looking at as well.
And Derek, I'm going to scroll down. I believe so. We're going to stop at 15. So if you haven't drafted Faith, you're going to have 2 more picks, 4 more folks with 2 more, and then we'll stop at 15. We'll keep the board up. If you've got to go, right? If you have other things, go ahead and sign off and cut out. But otherwise, what we'll do is we'll go left to right, start looking at some rosters, and we'll either grade them, make fun of them, talk about them. So again, if you've got some place to be, by all means, thank you, and go be in that place. But if not, we'll have a little bit of fun for a little bit longer with some of these lineups as we go through. And Derek will highlight each one, and we'll either shoot holes in it, like Derek's and all the Bear players, or we'll just talk like nice people do. Bob, by the way, I was going to tell you, I saw one other thing that sticks out to me in this draft. It's Josh Palmer on my team.
The sniper.
Insane. I was going to take him, and I'm like, Javante's fallen. I'm not convinced. And I'm like looking at the board. I'm like, he's so far down there. And then I forgot we literally just talked about our must-have guys for wide receivers like 5 days ago. Stupid.
And I think he's the cover of my article.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. Kate Otten's not going to make the cover? I don't know. Kate Otten screams cover.
Well, by the way, Kate Otten has red hair. We know how we love our gingers at Raz. And by the way, if you look at my round 13 and 14, is there a more powerful stack in fantasy football than Baker and Otten? I don't think there is.
I'm going to guess there might be 1 or 2.
Maybe 1 or 2.
Oh, man. Daniel Jones. See?
Yeah. See, now I know Derek just threw the towel in.
Yeah. Well, it is the last round for tonight.
Yeah, Derek just quit. There's no doubt in my mind. He's exhausted. He doesn't know he's not seeing straight. He does have an affinity. So if anybody plays with him in a league, he has an affinity for Daniel Jones' comeback season.
I do. I mean, he had a bad season last year, but he's shown that he can play in this league. He's got some legs. He scored touchdowns on the ground. He can throw the ball. He's got better wide receiver core now. So there's a chance he can have a bounce back year. I'm not totally out on him. And, pairing him with Cousins as my 2 quarterbacks, I feel relatively certain most weeks I can get a pretty good week out of one of the 2, if not both. So he's a guy. I wouldn't have taken him normally in the 15th round, but since it's our last round and we want to talk about it, then I just reached for him. But no, he's a player that I think as a quarterback 2 or later in drafts, he's worth taking a flyer on.
I think it was Dave, right, that said, I want a quarterback that can run. Was that you, Dave?
That was me.
And 2 years ago, he rushed for over 700 yards, which is it's huge, for a quarterback. So that's honestly, post-type sleeper, there is literally no downside to taking him in round 15. If he doesn't work out, it didn't cost you a thing. It's
is that your QB3?
All upset.
Well, it's my QB2.
Okay.
But typically I would probably have taken another quarterback and looked to take him a little bit later.
The thing with Danny Dimes is he runs for his life.
But they just invested in the offensive line.
I think that's a work in progress.
Don't be surprised if they sign Van Roten in the next day or so. All right, to shore up the guard, bump the guy from the Raiders out to tackle. All right, because Neal is on the pup. And I think that they investing, as I said, in the offensive line. I think it's to be a lot better than it was last year.
So what do we, Bob? I know that you're deep into some of this stuff. I believe Sky is our running back expert. What do you know about this kind of third in the pecking order, Kamani Vidal, and third in the pecking order? I'm going to mess his name up, but Esteem. from Denver.
Denver Broncos guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
I mean, from what
Are
I'm
these
hearing,
bowling ball types, like Ron Dane types?
I wouldn't say bowling ball. I think Esteem is the natural heir apparent to Javonte. I have a hard time believing Javonte Williams is going to be cut for Samaje Perine. I think Perine was a nice third down back like he was in Cincinnati, and I think that was the role he was supposed to play here. But Jaleel McLaughlin is becoming more of like the third down back type, but we'll see if he can handle pass pro. I think Esteem is like a perfect complement to Jaleel McLaughlin for the future, like a nice 1-2 punch. Early down thumper. McLaughlin could be more of your passing game specialist. I think he might be more like a Darren Sproles, though, in the sense of this offense. I clearly don't think he's like an Alvin Kamara for Sean Payton, but I think he could be a Sproles where he gets a bunch of pass game work, does a little bit on the ground as well. But and then for the other guy you asked about was the other guy you asked?
Vidal.
Oh, Vidal. Yeah, I think the problem is there's so much uncertainty with the Chargers backfield right now. I think Gus Edwards is the guy to start the season. I think J.K. Dobbins has a lot to prove, but both these guys know Greg Roman very well. They've been with Greg Roman for years in Baltimore, and they both know the offense. So they're going to be able to kind of pick up the playbook. Vidal's like a 6th-round pick, right? And so everything I've heard so far is Gus Edwards is the guy. But I personally think that we've seen in the past that the Ravens have used, Greg Roman has used those guys as a 1-2 punch. I think it was like 2020. It's been a long time since both those guys were healthy. But when they were playing together and well, they're about 10.5 to 11 PPR points per game. So they're going to probably be flex guys. Whoever wins the 1A will probably be a flex. But as of right now, go Gus Edwards as the player in the Chargers backfield that I would draft late.
Right. I took him in the 11th.
Yeah, he fits a Roman offense probably as well as anybody they've got, right? He's a bowling ball and he can get the ball in short yardage.
All right, Derek and Bob and Jeff, let me ask you real quick. We're an hour 20 plus into this. Do we want to go left or right? We've lost about half the folks have signed off. I'm good either way. We can go left or right and look at some teams and beat them up or talk about what we think of them, or we can just kind of leave this up and sign off and be good. Let you guys decide.
Yeah, you can ask just whoever's on the call, just ask like your favorite pick, kind of like how the draft kind of went out. Go one by one.
Derek is at 2. Highlight the lineup builders league or team there. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, I really like getting Swift in the 6th. Honestly, as my second running back. He's a dynamic player still, and he's got gas in the tank. And, to have him there, playing with a rookie quarterback, a lot of other weapons, you can't just stack the box. I don't think in Chicago, they've got a lot of weapons there. So I think he's going to have some room to run. And as my second running back in the 6th round, I like that pick.
All right, Robert, what do you think? What pick did you not like, Derek, that you either felt forced into taking it or looking back, you're like, I wish I didn't have to rely on this guy?
Yeah, I really should have taken quarterback a little earlier than I did with Cousins. I was targeting Kyler Murray. He went in the 8th. I was really actually hoping to get him in the 9th. I may have taken him in the 8th because Anthony didn't have a quarterback either, but I was really kind of hoping to get him at that 8-9 turn, and he went to you, by the way, in the 8th. So he was the quarterback I was targeting after I passed on him early. I'm fine with Cousins, but Kyler Murray was actually the quarterback I was looking at.
Yeah, and I think what you did in 9, right, coming back in 9, was you took an absolute best ball machine.
Yeah, I swung for the fences.
Yeah, Jameson Williams is going to have 0 or 27. And in best ball, you don't care about the weeks he has 0 as long as somebody's there to pick up the slack. And
that's right.
We've seen an end around or a slant that goes to the house with Jameson Williams. That's what you need from him.
Exactly, and I'm fine with him as my 5th wide receiver drafted. So to me, that was just a home run swing. And
in the 9th, right? Again, best ball. That's where you start swinging for for players that fit that mold. All right, Robert, what was your favorite pick? Which I can't believe you went 3 picks in a row without a wide receiver. 3, 4, and 5. My goodness, I don't know how you're going to sleep tonight after seeing that.
Well, as I said, actually, I like that because I was talking about the tiers, and so what I liked was the second round. I was able to get Evans, knowing that Chain Henry and Pacheco were there, figuring I'm going to get one of those guys back to me. And to me, at that point, 10 straight years, 1,000 yards. What can you say about Evans? And then Lamar Jackson's the same thing. End of that tier, in my opinion. And literally, it took 2 more rounds before the next quarterback went. So, I mean, I think that's where that's where this mock really comes in handy, is to understand where people are going and and this is a tough room. I mean, let's face facts, right? There's nobody that doesn't know what they're doing in here. And that's where my biggest mistake was with delaying on the tight end, right? And once I took Njoku, I should have backed him up right away. But I saw another break there with Lawrence because I wanted either Herbert, Lawrence, or Tua as my second quarterback.
Yeah, and you went, like you say, you like getting in at the end of the tier, right? You've got the most value at the end of the tier. And Njoku, in my opinion, is the end of the real tight end. The last tight end tier I want a piece of, Njoku's that guy. So, I don't know, maybe that second quarterback in this best ball format is more valuable than who went next. Hawkinson went next, and then Schultz and Freiermuth.
Right.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't know that Lawrence was a terrible pick. I know Jefferson probably didn't want anything to do with him when he made it back to him, but you can do worse than Trevor Lawrence as your second quarterback for sure. All right,
and you finished last year's QB 13, didn't he?
Yeah, he was in the top 15 for sure.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned during the draft the Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Best ball, it's probably not as noticeable. That you've got 2 guys from one team, same bye week, but they're both ones in my opinion. They've both been ones for a different time, and DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams may have the best hands in the NFL, and DeAndre Hopkins may have the best hands in the NFL. He's another year older. Ridley's another year older, and now on his third team, kind of a weird vibe for him, but he can still put up stats. There's no doubt about it.
All right. So I'm also thinking that Tennessee is going to be throwing the ball a lot because they have such a terrible defense. I don't know what you all think about that.
Well, they're not in a great division either, so just air it out. And Will Levis is a guy that they drafted to throw the football. He's not Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, so, that's actually a good point, Robert. I mentioned that he took Danny Dimes in the 15th a little early just for kind of conversation purposes. But I was looking at Will Levis for the very reason you said. I really do think, or I see Tennessee throwing the ball a little bit more. So he would be, to me, if we were drafting this and extended out a few more rounds, I probably would have taken Will Levis there at 15 and then backed him up with Daniel Jones, and either back-to-back in the 16th or the 17th. So I was actually along that same train as you on that.
Yeah, and Levis is the guy that's going to throw 4 touchdowns in a game weeks 1 through 10. He's going to carry your squad in best ball. The concern for me is when you hit weeks 11 and on, do you have the eggs to start Will Levis? That's where it gets a little bit scary.
Well, but that's where you get him, and knowing you've got Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott or Josh Allen, those are your quarterbacks when you're setting your lineup weeks 11 to 17.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Dave, what do we think? What's the favorite pick for Cruiser tonight?
I like Dalton Kincaid in the 5th round. I know it's not a tight end premium league, but I think there's a lot of good things still in the Buffalo offense, and I think there's a good shot if he's not the top receiver for Buffalo, he's definitely going to be in the top 2. So, I like that pick where I got him.
Yeah, I think there's a handful of tight ends that will put up wide receiver numbers, and Kincaid is absolutely one of those 5. So I think it's a steal. If you look at Laporta and Kelsey in the third, and McBride, McBride at the end of the third, I think Kincaid followed by Andrews are very, very, very valuable picks in the fifth.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that because I wasn't really willing since it's not a tight end premium, I wasn't really willing to commit to a tight end in the third round. I definitely wanted a receiver, and I'm pretty happy with the first two I got. ETN I took in the second round. It wasn't something I was sold on doing, but I didn't like the receivers around there. If I had a little bit more time to think about it, I might have taken Evans instead. But I'm fine with my first two picks. And, if this was a good exercise for me, because I look at this now and I probably will build my team a little bit differently if I have the chance to. It's risky in this tournament to wait on a quarterback until the 8th round. Although I am pretty pleased I got Daniels there.
No, that was a good pick there.
Yeah. And remember, another positive about RazzBowl is it's a slow draft. There's no 90 seconds for you to decide. You've got your time, and I have found that a little bit of extra research, right, a little more scouring the board, and determining, all right, do I have time to wait on a quarterback? Do I have time to wait on a tight end? Where does it make sense? And you look at the board. You can make an educated decision.
Plus, if you get a guy that you really wanted picked right around you, you've got time to basically reset.
Yeah.
In a fast draft, you don't have that. You basically you try to keep ahead of it, but a lot of times, there's times you are not able to.
Yeah. And what pick, other than Daniels, waiting on Daniels, is there another pick that you just didn't like, you weren't sold on?
Well, there's a couple of things I did in the fast draft that I love Taysom Hill in best ball. So I probably won't need him much beyond week 10. I probably would have gone another tight end a little bit earlier. But as far as guys like Warren and Robinson, I love guys like that. I love guys that are young. I love guys where I don't think we've hit their ceiling. I like what the Steelers have done with we talked about the Giants line a little bit earlier. I really like what the Steelers did in the draft for their line. And I think Brian Robinson's still got room. It's still got room in the ceiling. I know they got Eckler. But I think Robinson's going to be the pounder, and he can catch. So, they don't have to take him off the field in obvious passing downs.
And in rounds 9 and 10, you need touches, right? That's where you have to have. If you're going running back in those windows, you have to have touches.
Yeah, come week 12 when Presol and ETN are both on buys, it's nice to have somebody to fall back on.
Yep. All right, I think Faith has signed off. Bob, what do we think? What do we love? What do we hate?
Yeah, man. I think for me, I'm a big Kyron Williams guy this year. I truly believe that Sean McVay wants a workhorse back. I think Blake Corum is a good player, but I think what they want is a capable backup that could be a workhorse if Kyron goes down. And what Kyron did last year, 20-plus touches per game, over 20 PPR fantasy points a game. He was an elite difference maker, and to get a guy like that in the second round for me is a top 10 player. So I love that. The one player I kind of struggle with is Amari Cooper. I never feel great about drafting Amari Cooper, but he always seems to fall. And so, every draft I'm in the 5th round, and I'm like, this guy just finishes in the top 20 to 24 every year. And at this point, it's like, this makes sense. And I know the Deshaun Watson situation isn't ideal, but in the 11 career games that he's played start to finish with Deshaun Watson, he's been good. He averaged over 14 PPR points per game. So that's like wide receiver 2 numbers. So Watson, I know the Flacco thing was great last year, and we all love Christmas baby Jesus, Joe Flacco. He's our favorite guy of all time. But he was still good with Deshaun Watson. So I still think in the 5th round I like Where I don't like is when people like Dave snipes Hollywood Brown. By the way, I'm sitting there again, like chilling, like, oh, Hollywood Brown, no one really cares about. It's Rashid Rice is out there on the field right now, and all the Xavier Worthy hype, and Kelsey's still there. My favorite Kansas City wide receiver is Hollywood Brown. I'm all in. This guy has always been good. Just look at the games when he played with Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray in his career. He was like borderline wide receiver 1 with good quarterback, and now he gets Patrick Mahomes. I think Mahomes could throw for 5,000 yards. He's definitely one of those guys. So getting sniped hurt. And then, of course, Josh Palmer. I got cocky. I thought I could get Palmer late. And the only thing I would have done really differently late is obviously take those, Palmer early, but also the tight end spot. I'm a big Pat Freiermuth guy. Maybe I should have not have taken Javonte. I thought the value was good to get that Denver backfield to see what happens, to get them in the double-digit rounds. I was like, all right, 11th round pick and a 13th round pick, and one of those guys emerges. I just stole, maybe a borderline RB2. So that's what rationale is there. But Pat Freiermuth to me is an interesting late round tight end. Same thing with Hunter Henry. Those guys are two of my favorite. And then Tyler Conklin's just like, hey. So my opinion on that is like he's been 3 straight years quietly over 80 targets for the tight end position, and only 14 tight ends did that last year. And now he gets a huge talent upgrade at quarterback. So, and listen, Mike Williams coming off the injury, a lot of uncertainty at wide receiver 2 and 3 for the Jets right now. There's a world where he gets 90 to 100 targets from Aaron Rodgers. That could be borderline tight end 1. So I guess Conklin late wasn't too bad.
Yeah, well, I look back. I don't know that you made a mistake in 3 through 8. I just think that that's the way the board fell to you, and I would love to have any best ball that had Kupp, Kamara, Cooper, Stroud, Zamir White, and McConkey. I think it's a fantastic run of 5 rounds right there.
Yeah. The thing that stands out to me, you've got 7 running backs in 15 rounds, and I know you already mentioned the 2 Denver running backs. Draft 2 to find 1, but is that a strategy in a league like this? I mean, were you looking to load up on running backs, or is this just the way that fell in the middle?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we got multiple flex spots too to look at, and so I think when you're looking at a league like this, what is the RazzBowl? Is it 2 flex or 1?
2.
2 flex. Yeah. Obviously, I just continue. It's a best ball format too, right? And honestly, at this point, it's just like I like to just have a balanced roster with 3 receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flex spots. I kind of view it as, let me just fill up on the best flex players through those rounds. And just the way it ended up happening was the running backs fall to me. Like Devin Singletary, I know he's not a popular pick, but he's got familiarity with Brian Daboll. There's literally not much in the Giants backfield right now. I know Tracy is a popular late round guy, but he's a day 3 pick. And Devin Singletary had good seasons, and he's coming off a very productive season. So having him late, Jerome Ford, I think everyone thinks Nick Chubb is going to make some miraculous recovery. This guy is coming through multiple knee ligament injuries. They literally were talking about his career being over, let alone playing this year. And now I want to be optimistic, but I think Jerome Ford is just completely being overlooked. Yeah. And by the way, he split the backfield last year with Kareem Hunt. So even if Chubb comes back and they ease him in, I think Ford, especially early on, is going to be RB2 right there. So.
Yeah, running behind one of the best lines in football too.
That was your Hollywood Brown, Bobby. I got you back. I wanted Ford. I think Ford is way undervalued. He had almost 250 touches last year. I mean, to me, his downside is the old Kareem Hunt role. And I completely agree with you on Chubb. I don't think Chubb's going to be ready to begin the season.
Yeah.
And Dante Foreman, I mean, I keep hearing Dante Foreman. Dante Foreman has had no more than 208 touches in a year. And he's topped out at 16 targets. I just don't see him being that guy.
And a lot of the stuff last year with Jerome Ford was by the way, he lost all goal line and red zone work essentially to Kareem Hunt. If you look at the splits, all the carries inside the 5 went to Kareem Hunt. He barely had any work. So he didn't score a lot of touchdowns last year. But
he still had 9 touchdowns.
Yeah, I know. But but that's without having that work. And so I wonder what it would be like if they gave him more of that work. And honestly, that's the crazy part. I didn't even remember he got 9 touchdowns last year, but he also gets a decent number in the passing game because he was supposed to be the 1B to Kareem to Nick Chubb and be that passing game back last year. And then Chubb went down and he became the 1A on the ground. So this is a pretty nice role for this kid.
Yeah.
All right,
Who's
Jefferson, do you want to go next or you want to wrap up the show?
Yeah, I can go real fast.
Okay.
I learned my lesson in this. I waited on running backs way too long. I was going to try to get like the RB1, the running back B for a lot of teams, and I just missed out on a lot of them. So lesson learned there for me, but I do like my 3 receivers up top, and then Mahomes. Just guys, top targets. I want those guys early on in a best ball. I just think they're going to provide so much value, and I think with running backs, you can find running backs later, but finding top, receivers, it's going to be harder to find that later in the draft. So that was kind of my strategy in this one. And so waiting on running back, I wanted to see kind of how it looked. I think I waited too long. I think with Pittman, I could have gone a running back there to give me better balance. But I still like Pittman in the 3rd round right there overall. I think Brian Thomas and Keon Coleman I do like as rookie receivers. I mean, their target is kind of unknown right now where they land in their offense, but I like 2 rookies with viable quarterbacks. And they got targets that are available in both those offenses. So who knows how much they really get. And if they get what I'm hoping they get, I may have gotten some steals right there in my flex spots.
Yeah, I think and when you go into the RazzBowl with the long clock, not the 90 seconds, I think you don't take Pittman. I think you've got those running backs that pop early in the 4th that you had an opportunity to grab. And I bet you, not that we're betting, but you know what? I think you may have passed on Pittman and gone White or Mixon coming as your 3rd round pick. If you have all that time to mull it over and think about it. Now that you've, like you say, you've learned a lesson, I bet you that you would probably pass on a guy like Pittman if we started the draft tomorrow.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I think, like I've said before, I think Brian Thomas has the most touchdowns for a rookie wide receiver. Maybe not the most catches or yards, but I think he's going to have the most touchdowns. And I rate him as the top rookie wide receiver if there's no Marvin Harrison.
I got both. Hopefully that works out.
Yeah.
Let me bring up one thing that I was looking at the board in general. And normally when you do a cut line type scenario, a lot of people are going for stacks. And I noticed not a lot of them.
Nope. I was watching the same thing.
And
that's why I made fun of Baker and K. Dotton as being a stack.
Well,
and I
that
was wondering, was anybody
thing
cognizant of that, or was they purposely? I mean, I noticed that Ryan got Hurts and Smith, but I was looking for, with Mahomes, with Rice or Brown or things like, those kind of stacks, and I was hoping to get Andrews to come back, but that clearly wasn't going to happen. But I was just curious if anybody else was looking at the same thing.
Derek got Neighbors and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, and that's a good point Robert brings up, because that was something I was looking at. When it got down, and I waited on quarterbacks, so I was looking at quarterbacks that I could potentially stack, with one of my wide receivers, and so I was looking at it. It didn't really fall that way for me the way I would have planned, but yeah, you make a good point. I mean, mini stacks are not a bad thing in a format like this.
Hey, Robert, on that question. So I took Mahomes there in the 4th. Would you have taken Rice or Hollywood Brown instead of Kyle Pitts? Or was that too high to take those guys there? Because that's where I would have had to have taken them based on where they got drafted.
Well, no, Pitts you took, and then Rice went. You would have had it. Oh, right. Well, no, if you had taken you would have had to take Connor.
Yeah, you would have had time.
Yeah,
you would have had time to get one of those guys where you got Connor.
Right.
Oh, I missed the arrows. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Rice went out at the end of the round, and you got
yeah.
Connor in, and
Right.
then I got Hollywood Brown the next round.
Right, because Rice and Brown went within 5 picks of each other.
Yeah.
But again,
if I don't
Jeff, that
take
goes back to
Pittman.
if you take Rashad White or Mixon over Pittman, Connor makes sense, but you then you have the flexibility to go Rice or Hollywood there and not even think about it twice, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good lessons learned for our viewers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what this exercise is also understanding the setup of the league. And then, like we're talking about, that second and third quarterbacks are important, especially when you've got 10 weeks of best ball, but you still need a guy you can rely on. Last year, I know I waited on quarterback till very late. I got Cousins, Geno Smith, and then Love. And, I made to the consolation finals. All right. But didn't spend big on the quarterback, but one of them then popped at the end, Love, which got me to the end.
Right. Yeah. You had Cousins in the beginning and then Love at the end.
Right.
Yeah, and I had Baker, Stafford, and because I usually wait in RazzBowl on quarterback. I had Baker really, really, really late. Stafford kind of mid to late, and I don't remember who my number one was. It may have been Goff, but don't quote me on that. And it really was Baker that carried me down the stretch because he just played so well at the end.
All right, let's see what you did, Matt.
All right, well, and Derek, most of the guys here that I've talked to or talked through, I don't like running backs. I don't want anything to do with them. I want all the wide receivers I can get. And Robert, you were in on a mock with me. Derek, you've been on more than we care to count. It's always a damn running back lineup for me. And I hate it. I want receivers, but I don't know that I can pass on Bijan there. Devontae makes sense. I don't know. Should I have passed on Jacobs? The coin flip was Nico versus Jacobs. Looking back, like Jeff said, I'd probably go Nico over Jacobs and wait to see what wide receivers come to me in the fourth, which could have been Mixon, but I would have been happy with Nico and Kamara over Diggs and Jacobs.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to suggest.
I'd have been fine with those.
Nico and Kamara rather than Jacobs and Diggs. Yeah.
Yep. I think Kenneth Walker in the sixth is good value. The guy that I was looking at with him was Kittle, who went to Howard Bender right after. Brock Bowers, people seem high on him. I don't read anything that makes me think he's going to set the NFL on fire immediately. His quarterbacks aren't great. He was awesome in college. And then I tried to talk people into ignoring quarterback 2 or forcing them to take quarterback 2, knowing that I was going to take Kyler Murray. And it didn't really happen, so that's why I went with my high upside Shakir and then Tua right behind him. And also, whether you know this or not, because we probably won't be competing against each other, of the 3 top receivers in Green Bay, the guy that has the most routes run and targets in 2 receiver sets and 3 receiver sets is Romeo Doubs. So Doubs is the guy at the biggest discount. And he's the guy that Jordan Love, I think, leans towards if you watch the playoff game and leading up to the end of the season. And numbers don't lie, right? He is the guy that gets the most target share and the most routes run in both 2 and 3 receiver sets, which is what Green Bay is going to run all year. So if I can get in the 11th and 12th in all of my drafts, Dobbs and Josh Palmer, I'm going to be ecstatic walking away. And I wish Bob wouldn't have signed off. It would have given me another chance to get one more Josh Palmer dig on him. But alas, he had to go. But Dave and Robert, Jeff, as always, I appreciate your guys' time. This was fun, and I think that outside of normal mock drafts, which, people check out after the 6th or 7th round, they want to know what quarterback they can get, but then they check out, right? That was the old mock draft. I think what we put on here today was fantastic, and I think that having some tenured industry experts on, providing on-the-spot feedback and information on why they made the picks they made as the draft is moving forward was fantastic. So hopefully you guys learned something about your draft. I know Jeff did. I know I certainly did. That we can move forward and have better RazzBowl lineups moving forward. And I thank you guys for coming on, Dave and Robert, as outsiders. This was great. I think it was a pretty good mix of pros versus Joes. And it shows that we've got some guys and gals in the industry that are willing to share and talk and chatter. And I would say if you need any of the names of the folks that were on there tonight, let me know. I'll give you their handles. But I recommend following each and every one of them. And they're just good people, number one. And that's where I started my invites, right? Start with good people. Start with people that have been accommodating. Add Robert to the mix, and then lock it up.
All right, yeah, this will
be
be a lot
Robert,
of
of
fun.
all people, the one guy that should be bragging all the time is the one guy that just sits back and never reminds us that he was the RazzBowl3 champ. He just kind of goes on about his business and
Humble. He's a humble champ.
very humble champion. And Robert, good for you. If Derek and I get some sleep and figure out that we want to do this again, maybe we mix it up with some other industry people, but that would have to be between now and Monday. It was a lot of work. I will tell you that I'm exhausted, but we put together a good lineup. Derek did everything you saw today. I didn't touch anything on the screen. Derek did all that on his own. So all the banners, all the names,
Great
the
job,
board, highlighting, which was great. So Derek, I thank you for doing that. And
Yeah.
I guess we'll chat tomorrow if we've got enough gas left in the tank to try to pull another one of these off.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
All right, great. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
cheers.
for having.
You got it, Dave. All right, Derek, I'll let you end it.
All right.